talk to me about the difference between the realities of some of that versus the perception that we see online. Because we were talking a little bit off air that it's really cool that homesteading and farm life is becoming trendier because we need young people getting into this. But it's not all sundresses and frolicking in the sun, right? Like, what are some of the maybe the misconceptions or the harsh truths that people don't realize about the beauty of living more in touch with nature, but some of the hardships of it too?
The red barn, sunrise, cup of coffee on your porch with your journal. It's not that. It's not that at all. You are absolutely in the chicken coops. You're mucking poop.
Lots of poop.
You're getting in there. Absolutely. And the days are incredibly long. The days are super long. I think I would even say, you know, starting out, I definitely had a way more romanticized version of it. Even hearing my brother's stories about farming, I just thought, oh, this sounds so peaceful and wonderful. The thing is, this isn't to, you know, it's not to deter someone from starting, because I think that the beauty is actually in the hard work. Yeah. The merit is in the hard work. And so that's what makes it incredibly rewarding. And it's not all like that. I think it's like very cyclical. There are waves. There's like go time, kind of like an event, go time, and then hurry up and wait, if you will. And so, you know, I wouldn't say that it's not something to be romanticized. I would say if you're going to romanticize it, maybe think a little bit more about what you're romanticizing, if that makes sense. So something that I've learned, and something that's really been reframed for me in farming, is just the idea of life and death and that cycle, and the idea of like waste and residue and the underneath being completely divorced from our idea. So I think why we romanticize farming is because we really just look solely on what life is, and we don't bring the death into that as well. And that's what makes it go around. And I think of, like, you mentioned social media and how they portray farming. I feel the same way about social media as it portrays birth. It's just the life part that, you know, I think they're making a lot of headway in the depiction, but it's something that's censored. It's not to be seen. It's same as hunting, you know, everything's censored. It's not to be seen. It's not to be looked at. And these are the things that, you know, farming opens your eyes to in a big way, are these parts that have been hidden from us. So in some ways it's like, oh, I'm in on this little universal cosmic secret. And it actually makes me appreciate so much more the life aspect.
It's so good. It's so important. I agree with you fully. I think there is a lot of value in kind of like the memento mori philosophy from Stoicism, like meditate on the fact that you will die. And it's not to be morbid. It's to enrich life with this meaning that, oh yeah, it is transient. It's not permanent. And that death is the only thing that we all share. And if you see it, as you will, if you get into farming, you're going to see death up close and personal. It gives you a new perspective, and it's death is the thing that completes the circle of life in some ways. So I would like you to say a little bit more about that, because I know you've been up close and personal, things like the bison harvest and things like that. What is that like? Talk me through that experience of seeing something like that.
Absolutely. The bison harvest, I'm so happy you brought that up, because that was such a pivotal moment for me in terms of understanding and really seeing, like, the essence, feeling, maybe less seeing, but more feeling the essence of a spirit of an animal completely expanding into its surroundings, and connecting me with that in the process of consuming that animal later on. I think even like with elk hunts I've been on, it's just this idea of like, and I think actually I'll go back to the bison, because that moment was absolutely incredible. It was at Force of Nature, the Rome Ranch out in Fredericksburg, and this massive bison, he almost knew that his life that he wasn't for long. It was this incredible, I couldn't quite put it into words, but he almost knew. Rifle straight to the head, shot straight to the head, took a quick second, and then slowly collapsed to the ground. And subsequently, all the other bison out on the prairie there centered themselves around the bison that had died, almost as if to observe him, just to be with him for a moment. It almost felt like the way that we had kind of centered around the bison, but almost in a sense, they knew exactly what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And in that split second that they gathered around him, it felt as if the soul or the essence, oh my goodness, and it's something so hard to put into words. It feels so intangible, but like the soul expanded outwards, and that's what everyone was feeling. And so when people were crying as the bison went down, and as the herd gathered around him, it just felt like there was such a sense of solidarity in that moment, and a knowingness that, wow, this creature, this majestic, large creature lived such a beautiful life, and now we get to participate in that in some beautiful way in consuming him and celebrating him. And it's almost like an act of reverence.
It is.
I wonder too, with like life and death, the idea comes up very common, like in farming discussions about disturbance, and like, oh, this idea of like, if you do a controlled burn on your property, or if you mow the lawn, this is disturbing the natural order. It's really cool with farming, and my experience in farming is just really coming to terms with like disturbance or death as a very integral part of the process. So, and even people in permaculture, you could say that like seeding is disturbance essentially, because you're changing the essence of the soil, you're mineralizing it in a different way. So I've been chewing on these concepts a lot, like about life and death and about disturbance.
All right, friends, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Radical Health Radio. We got a fresh new podcast for you every Wednesday. If you enjoyed the show, consider liking, subscribing, reviewing, and rating us on your podcast platform. It helps to spread this message of radical health. We'll see you next week.